Part of the fear that comes with China is that they're not white. To white people, they are just these brainwashed communist robots that all look the same because white people can't tell Asian people apart. So before COVID started, racism against Asian people was already a thing. Hey everyone, my name's Cheyenne and I'm an Asian American adoptee and expat living in Brazil. I post new videos about racism, feminism, and pop culture every Tuesday and Friday, so if you're into that, please feel free to subscribe and ring the bell. So part 1, Sinophobia. Asian people have always faced the usual racism and xenophobia due to the fact of our perpetual foreigner status. However, after COVID, the racism got a lot worse, and hate against Asians spiked both online and in real life. A Chinese restaurant from my hometown got vandalized with graffiti saying, "China go home" and COVID-19. Really lame graffiti, by the way. Though I personally haven't been the subject of racism due to COVID, a lot of other people have. Where I see COVID racism the most rampantly is online. People are outwardly being xenophobic, calling COVID Wuhan virus and Kung flu, and saying that the Chinese people, but specifically those from Wuhan, deserve some sort of punishment for something that they couldn't control. Conspiracy theories about China and COVID have also risen. A lot of people believe that China created COVID and that it's not even a real virus but a fake one that China unleashed on the world in order to make profit off of medical equipment and an eventual vaccine. I've even met people who are wary or would straight up just reject a vaccine for COVID if it came from China. The US shrouds communist countries like China in so much mystique and mystery that people just end up thinking that we cannot trust them. We all know the infamous hashtag China lied and people died, but they told us what was happening in real time and we chose to ignore them. In reality, China is just a regular country and their people are living their everyday lives. And yet, when this video of Chinese kindergartners playing a cooperation game by bouncing balls, the Western media went crazy saying, "This is how they indoctrinate the young into the communist hive mind." As if in the US we aren't forced to pledge allegiance to the flag every morning. So part 2, the US military police state. The US propaganda machine and education system would have you believe that any country outside of the US is a shithole that's controlled and censored by the government, not like here in the US. For example, the US news media and government makes you think that people in Brazil are living under the threat of gang violence and are afraid to leave their houses, when in reality, Brazil is a vast country of 200 million people and we're just living our everyday lives. And with anything, we're seeing more and more proof that the US is a militaristic police state with each passing day. But of course, that only applies to its black citizens. White people can do whatever the hell they want to without any repercussions at all. But if you're black or a person of color, you already knew that. So part 3, white people have too much freedom. A lot of people outside of the US laugh at the fact that Americans have so much freedom to just be terrorists. Some people in Brazil specifically think that people in the US having the right to own a gun and to start groups like the legally is too much freedom. And honestly, I think a lot of people in the US feel the same way, that white Americans having so much freedom isn't in the best interest for everyone. Especially during a pandemic where white people are literally protesting their right not to wear a mask because it's uncomfortable. Or where white Americans use their individual freedoms to not only not wear a mask, but to actually have the audacity to blame Asian Americans for the spread of the disease when they're the ones not wearing masks. And in fact, Filipino Americans are dying at an extremely high rate in the US because of COVID. In LA, for example, 1 in 5 caregivers or nurses is Filipino. Some Americans even complain about getting tested because it hurts and they just rather would risk it than get tested. So part 4, a history of animosity towards China. So there's always been this animosity towards China. You can see it best illustrated in a 2008 episode of The Office where Michael and Dwight freak out at the fact that there are 1 billion Chinese people and that they're the fastest growing economy in the world. This was also the year of the 2008 Beijing Olympics where the Chinese people were mocked for their opening performance because it was so synchronized and it lacked any individuality. You can kind of see a running theme through this, can't you? American capitalistic individuality will always trump the benefit of community organization because that's the American way, even in a goddamn pandemic. Most people in the US feel as though America is the best country in the world and that no one can beat us. We're number one. So when China was on the rise to power back in 2008 and the early 2000s, people were freaking out. And I'm not here to say that China is without its faults, but you can criticize China without being a racist, xenophobic, and sinophobic. Part of the fear that comes with China is that they're not white. To white people, they are just these brainwashed communist robots that all look the same because white people can't tell Asian people apart. That's why photos like this one from the 2008 Beijing Olympics is so scary to Western audiences. They just see us as this unidentifiable, interchangeable mess of meat rather than human beings. China and Chinese people as a whole are now just seen the same way that basically North Korea is seen, as spies. In my high school, there was this kid who was constantly bullied for being a North Korean spy. Asian kids, whether they're Korean or not, are constantly asked if they're from the good or bad Korea. In The Big Bang Theory, one of the only named East Asian characters was Leonard's ex-girlfriend, who was a North Korean spy. Ha ha. So the conclusion. Chinese people in the US have always faced racism and discrimination as perpetual foreigners, but COVID was what the government needed to start its all-out war. Now the government is sanctioning China, closing its embassies, and even canceling TikTok because it's Chinese. And Chinese people aren't the only ones facing discrimination. All Asian communities in the US are being hit hard due to the fact that most white Americans and non-Asian Americans can tell the difference between Asian people and their languages. Asian immigrants who live in the US are afraid to speak their mother tongue in public because the people around them will probably think that they're speaking Chinese because they don't understand the differences between Asian languages. All I can say is that it doesn't look good for Asian people, especially as the second wave of COVID is about to hit. We need to protect ourselves and our communities. The NYPD has started a special task force to investigate COVID-related racist crimes, but we all know the police isn't good for so just stick together, and Asian allies, please speak out if you see harassment either in public or online because we really need your help. So thank you, and everyone please stay safe. Hey guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to my subscribers and my patrons. As I said in the beginning, I make new videos every Tuesday and Friday, so if you want to be notified of them, please subscribe and ring the bell, and thank you again for watching, and please stay safe during this time. And I just want to say that next video is going to be about The Office, an excruciatingly deep dive into the 9-season series. So if you want to see that, please subscribe and ring the bell, give this video a like, share it with someone, comment, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.